Guarding the 6'2" sophomore from Hawaiʻi, number 3, and
What's up, you guys? Wowee, what a non-conference finale we just witnessed this past Saturday when the University of Hawaii took on the UTEP Miners, Texas El Paso Miners. That was the first time they'd gone up against each other since 2019 in the Diamond Head Classic, the unfortunately defunct for this year Diamond Head Classic, I should say. And that was when Bernardo da Silva showed that he's a permanent addition to the roster and one of the great pickups for the University of Hawaii, as he ended up with 17 that night. This time, it was their non-conference finale for the Rainbow Warriors. And fortunately, UH came out the winners here 66-61. Now, this is a game that had a bit of everything, and this was also a game that could very well have slipped through their fingers in a big way. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but first off, guys, remember, subscribe if you think that I'm worth listening to, or if you just want to see some more of my games. I've already posted my Press Your Luck game for this week. I'm going to have another one next week, hopefully. But in the meantime, let's get into this. Okay, here's my banner. UH digs deep to beat UTEP. Harry Rouhliadeff, a big leader. UH plays solid when it counted. Now, before I get to this, I want to issue a correction in my last video, even though I did put a graphic up issuing my correction. I had said that Dre Bullock led UH last time in scoring. It was actually Harry Rouhliadeff. But this time, I'm going to get it right this time, because Harry Rouhliadeff led UH with 22 points to tie his career high in the win. Now, this was a game that could have slipped through UH's fingers, like I just said earlier, because in the first half, UH went scoreless for 9 minutes. They were stuck on 7 points, and that could very well have been a replay of the UC Santa Barbara game from 2 seasons ago, when UH went scoreless for 10 minutes and Santa Barbara ran away with the game with a 26-0 run while UH was stuck on 7 points for 10 minutes. This time, UH was stuck on 7 points for over 9 minutes, but fortunately, they got their act together, and despite a 21-3 UTEP run, UH was able to right the ship and end the first half on an 18-5 run that was punctuated by this buzzer-beating floater from Hunter Erickson. Check it out. So I'll tell you what, that was a great way to end the first half after being scoreless for over 9 minutes. And that right there, that floater from Hunter Erickson, if he hadn't made that one, I don't know if UH would have been able to take any momentum into the second half. Because if Erickson had missed that, I guarantee that UH may very well have been looking for answers early, and UTEP may very well have run away with it. But that was not the case. Erickson made the floater, and as a result, UH was able to get in front, and despite losing the lead once, they were still able to get their act together. Despite another run from UTEP, UH was still able to turn back their future Mountain West opponent starting next year. UH was able to turn them back, and they were able to retake the lead for good off of this triple from Aaron Hunkin-Clater.
Come on, Hunter. Move in. Yeah, baby!
And shout out to Aaron Hunkin-Clater, too, because he had 7 points and 6 rebounds. Fortunately, he did not turn the ball over much. In fact, UH did not turn the ball over much at all in that game, just like against Hilo. They only had, I believe, 6 turnovers against Hilo. This time, it was only 8 turnovers. But, however, UH had only 5 after the first half, but when you consider that 9-minute scoring drought, it did feel like a lot more than 5 turnovers. But still, for UH to really cut down on the turnovers this way in the last 2 games, that's a big step forward. And if they can keep this going into conference play, I guarantee you UH will make a run for the Big West Conference Championship, let alone winning the regular season. Because last year, it seemed like UH was really on the wrong foot after winning the Diamond Head Classic, or not winning the Diamond Head Classic, but finishing 3rd overall in what was a thriller over Oakland. This time, UH looks like they're a lot more balanced, and they've got a lot more backbone in themselves, because it seemed like last year's team could do great things, but they couldn't use it efficiently, and it seemed like they were kind of a little bit scared on one side of the coin last year. I'm not saying nobody played terribly, but it just seemed to me like UH really didn't have much of an answer. And of course, they didn't really have a quote-unquote leader like how they had Juan Munoz and Noel Coleman a couple seasons ago that could play the point position. And also Javon McClanahan with all the buzzer beaters that he hit. But still, it seemed like UH really was fighting themselves last year, and they couldn't really get on a consistent performance after losing that game by 20 plus, by 23 to CSUN last year. And after that, it was kind of downhill. And as a result, UH did not qualify for the Big West tournament. But this year, a 10-2 record is proof positive that the Rainbow Warriors hit the portal hard, and I have a good feeling that Eran Ganat's job is going to be saved after this season. And I have to say, with moving to another conference, I have a feeling that recruitment is going to be a lot better as opposed to being in a league like the Big West, where on one side of the coin, you can look at it this way, as the NCAA doesn't really care too much about that league because it's a one-bid league. And this time, next year, I should say, they're going into a conference that will take multiple teams into the dance. And I have a good feeling that UH is going to be one of those teams this next season. Now, obviously, they're going to have to find some good players because obviously after this year, they're losing Isaac Johnson. They're losing Hunter Erickson. They're losing Harry Rouhliadeff. And that's just for starters. And you got to hope that after this season, hardly anyone is going to put their name into the transfer portal. Because the way that this year has gone, I have a good feeling that UH is probably not going to lose more than one person to the portal. And you certainly, although in a perfect world, UH would not lose anyone to the portal in a perfect world because everybody would commit to staying in a state like Hawaii, especially one that has really good beaches, really good hikes, and a team that's built on winning and has won the Big West before in 2016. Are they going to win it in 2026? I sure hope so, because they got a squad that could do just that. And if this win over UTEP was any indication, that's going to speak a lot of volumes that this team is going to relieve some droughts against some teams like Irvine and Santa Barbara, who they've had a lot of trouble against in recent seasons. Who led the way for UH tonight? It was Harry Rouhliadeff, as I said, with 22 points. The only other guy to crack double digits was Dre Bullock. But I have to say, though, if there was one guy that I was looking for cracking double digits, it was Isaac Big Fish Johnson, because the way that he played tonight, he looked like he really wanted to get back on the double-digit scoring track Unfortunately, it just didn't really work out. And I don't think that Isaac Johnson is going to see his minutes fluctuate, especially going back to conference play, because going forward, UH is really going to need his services. And they could also use the services from Hunter Erickson with Tanner Cuff down with the knee injury. And they're also going to need the good services from guys like Isaac Finlinson and Isaiah Kerr. But Isaiah Kerr didn't score again, just like against UH Hilo. Is that really a red flag at all? Generally, no. But if I'm in the Isaiah Kerr camp, I'd be working extra harder. And maybe, just maybe, he could be that next guy off the bench, or sixth or seventh guy off the bench, because I have a feeling that Gitas Nemicha has really been that sixth guy, and he really did a lot of good himself in his second senior year. And for Isaiah Kerr, someone like him, I say just be patient. You'll get your time at UH, and I'm very certain that Isaiah Kerr is going to have a breakout game, and I think that he will be awarded a start job next season if he chooses to stay. But with guys like seeing their minutes fluctuate or decrease significantly, like Akira Jacobs last year, and they end up hitting the transfer portal, that's when you say you can't really blame them. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people. I would have liked to, last season, I would have liked to see Ryan Rapp at the point position a little bit more often. And this season, if there's another guy that I think probably deserves a little bit of time at the point position, I probably would have to go with Dre Bullock or Isaiah Kerr. But I probably would lean towards Bullock because he's the grad transfer. And the way that he plays, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Little Matt Gibson when he was here 20 years ago. Because Little Matt Gibson was pretty good at the point position. He just had to not let his ego get in the way. Am I saying that he did that? Maybe once or twice, but again, that was 20 years ago, and Little Matt Gibson still played really well and proved he was a valuable pickup. And Trey Bullock has proven that he's a valuable pickup as well. So what kind of grade would I give this game? Considering they went through that 9-minute scoring drought, I would probably give that game a B+, because that was a game that could have slipped away. UTEP proved to be a really good challenge for the Bows, but their physicality really mucked things up and could have been a loss for the Rainbow Warriors. But fortunately, UH was still able to put the pieces together, and they were able to turn back the UTEP Miners. And kudos to them, for sure. So, like I said, I would give that game a B+ because of that long scoring drought. Is that something that's easily fixable? I want to say yes, it is. But then again, it's basketball. Things happen. You know, you can go through those long scoring droughts and still win a game or lose a game by a landslide. But still, if you have the ability to put together something, that's when you can say that those scoring droughts can be null and void. It isn't easy, but it's still possible to turn a negative into a positive. And fortunately, UH turned a negative into a positive. That 9-minute scoring drought was the negative. And fortunately, UH was able to go on a run and still be able to win that game. But props to UTEP for sure, because they really gave us a run for our money. And the guy who led was Jamal West Jr. He had 12 points, as well as Kaseem Watson, who used to play for Cal State Bakersfield. And they both had 12. And Trey Horton III also had 10 points, but he had a buzzer-beating 3. So I guess you could say that everything was kind of evened out, because Hunter Erickson got a buzzer-beating floater at the end of the first half. And then Trey Horton III got this buzzer beater to end the game. And although the writing was on the wall, props to him, because I think that he's going to be a great player for sure. And if he ends up transferring out, I hope that UH looks at him, because I really like the way that he played for sure. He's really good from long range. And if there was a team that I thought, if there was another team in this upcoming non-conference roster that I thought could pose another threat for UH, it was UTEP for sure. And they proved it, just the way that they played. Obviously, they're going to be future Mountain West opponents, just like how they were when UH was in the WAC, and then UTEP ended up leaving the WAC, and then UH would also leave the Western Athletic Conference for the Big West for 2012. But still, for UH to come through at the 10-2 record, and they've only lost 2 games, but these are 2 higher-powered opponents like Oregon and Arizona State. But those were winnable games for sure, the way that they were playing. And if they can apply that to conference play, look out, because UH is going to make a lot of noise in conference play, I have a feeling. And that's where I'll leave it. So anyway, guys, that's all for today. And remember, subscribe, and I'll see you all for the next UH men's basketball game, which will be on the road at UC Riverside on New Year's Day. And they will play at UC San Diego, where Tom Beatty transferred to on January 3rd. And Beatty transferred to UCSD in the offseason, becoming the first in-conference transfer out of UH. And, of course, UCSD, their time in the Big West is almost over. They're moving to the West Coast Conference next season. So good luck to them. So thanks, guys. Subscribe, and I'll see you all again. Go Bows. We'll see you all. And UH will return to the stand on January 10th against Irvine. So thanks, guys. Subscribe. I'll see you all again. Go Bows.